be the agency that has been working, for example, with Steve Jobs for many, many years to build the Apple brand and then rebuild the Apple brand after Scully fucked it up and drove that thing to the ditch, and then Steve Jobs came back, and the first person he called was this man, and that man is my boss. That's Lee Clow. He kind of looks like a pirate as well, and he acts like one, sometimes a little bit harsh and weird, but a very funny guy. Great ad legend, and this is just a quick snapshot of where we work. It's I always compare it to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. It's a giant warehouse where they built a city into it. It's really, it's kind of nice to be there. You get in there every morning, and you feel the buzz of 800 people trying to do great ads or build great brands. Let's put it like that. It's 800 people. You know, I heard earlier that advertising is going to be crowdsourced one day. Yeah, that wasn't a good ad, by the way. And we have so many people there. It's great. We have internal crowdsourcing, so we are safe from crowdsourcing. It's a cool place. It's like a little gadgety at some points. That yellow thing is called the main streets. That's where the creative sits, like a big building. And behind that is a full-size basketball court. So enough for the bragging. Those are the brands we are fortunate enough to work with, which are really, really cool brands. So there's Gatorade. By the way, a great case out there right at the moment called the Replay campaign. Very social media. We use social media. But we made a TV program in the end. Then Visa had a good run with the Olympics. Well, Apple, I've seen a lot of iPhones here, and so on and so forth. Also worth mentioning, there's Pepsi going on. If you want to see how how advertising and social media comes closer together, the Pepsi Refresh Everything case, and you can all like tweet this and stuff, is a good case where we actually told Pepsi, fuck the Super Bowl, don't invest that money anymore, but make something good. So we took all the Super Bowl money to set up this foundation that is actually now looking for very interesting projects to actually refresh the world and make it a better place. So that's kind of our portfolio. Oh, by the way, very, very popular at the moment. Farmville is one of our clients as well, and the other game called Mafia War. So we're not just hanging out at the beach and surf and stuff, but we do a lot of hard work, and this little timeline is another little bragging chart. That is the numbers of Grand Effies. The agency has one, which is the most Grand Effies in the United States. There's some gold ones in between, but we don't put it on this line. But, yeah, we are assholes. And we're quite happy with it because, I don't know, this whole being friendly to everyone doesn't really work out. So, what we're going to look at is the original topic was planning and measuring. I just want to make sure that you understand we're truly serious about this. We don't just talk stuff all day. We do a lot of experiments with these things. I mean, some of the tools were mentioned earlier, for example, Radiant 6, which I think is a big, big fat phony, which is a horrible tool. Just got very, very popular through the music video awards. There are a lot more sophisticated tools out there. Be careful with Radiant 6. We had a big debacle with Visa during the Olympics, and Radiant 6 was the official listening people, and then they came back and said it was a disaster. It's like, what? Why? The campaign was funny and it was nice, and we were a sponsor, and everybody hated you. And we're like, okay, so we went to another company, which was TrueCast, and they actually have a sentiment measuring system in there, and we found out that the people didn't rant hatefully about Visa, the brand, but about the process to get a Chinese visa. So it's like, those guys come back to you. Yeah, we made Kanye famous at the music video awards, and your brand failed at the Olympics. And we're like, no, we don't believe that. And we didn't, so they are out. TrueCast, another interesting thing, and I don't want to go into the details, I just wanted to reassure you we really got our shit together in that term. So another, by the way, big recommendation, this is a product, this is an outcome of a tool called Visible Technologies, which is, in our current opinion, probably the most sophisticated tool to do proper social listening and also interacting, because a lot of interesting stuff to it. I don't want to get into the details of this graphic because I have no idea, but I've got a lot of digital analysts that are really good at that stuff. So what I want to talk about today, and I'm really happy that don't know where Professor Mary is. She was great because she mentioned one thing, which is really, really interesting. It's relevance. The tools themselves are not necessarily relevant to people by nature, You've got to look at your brand and really figure out what is interesting about us. What would people care about us? The Nestle debacle, I mean, you all know it. So I don't want to talk about the tool level. I'd rather talk about dogs. Who's got a dog, by the way? Anyone? Dogs? Yeah, it's not really popular in Europe. But in America, they really like dogs. I mean, you know, every time the president gets elected, there is the big discussion about the presidential dog. Only Clinton had a cat. I mean, he was kind of a wuss, but when Obama got his dog, that was national topic for 2 weeks at least. So I want to talk about dogs, and I want to talk about a little story about one of our brands. This little fellow is, by the way, is called Oliver, and it's really interesting. The relationship between a dog and a person is so powerful and so strong, actually kind of genetically programmed since 20,000 years when dogs evolved into domesticated dogs and the hunters and gatherers. But so that relationship is kind of, it's in our heads. Right? Neuroscience professor, we're working with that as well. And now we are facing a society where people have a lot more choice. Obviously, we have talked about that in the last 2 days, and you can see that chart on the presentation. So people have choice. The game of just hitting them over the head with a message is obviously diluting. On the other hand, you must say, if, for example, in the United States, in regular CPG, which is like the FMCG category, if you look at the relationship between share of voice on TV and share of market, it is almost 1-to-1. So we are at the start of a new generation, but we are still living in a very much traditional relationship with the customer, with the consumer in the US. So you buy your market share with TV ads. This is a sad fact, but it's a fact. On the other hand, obviously, we realize that those people, the people that we are becoming one of now, have a strong voice with all those fascinating social media tools. And I mean, most of the time they talk about themselves. Nobody really cares about that. But on the other hand, they got a very powerful tool to bitch about everything that they don't like. As a marketer, it's kind of a weird situation because you're like, oh my God, I cannot make up a random lie and just shout it out on TV and people are not going to believe me anymore. No, you can't. So the good thing about this is, who knows what technology is going to dominate social media in 12 months. 12 months ago, I didn't even know that there was something like Twitter. So we were going to see how that's going to work. But the end effect is very simple and very desirable because it will force brands to become more honest, more transparent, more with the people. The ivory tower model of targeting people and like deer and shooting them with advertising messages doesn't work anymore. So it's a good and a bad side to it. And actually, it produced a lot of failure. Even in the very beginning of the social media we know today, then when a video blog was something very exotic, there was this guy, like 4 years ago or something, and there was this guy, passionate cyclist, and he proved in his video blog that he can open the unbreakable kryptonite lock with a big pen, like a little pencil, opened it. And he posted it. And it's not like today where everybody and their mother would know about it because they're all tweeting and stuff. But it was a day where it kind of took a slow start. But it took a couple of days, so it gained some scale. And then Kryptonite started to campaign against the guy because they thought they have the power of a traditional brand. And they had a PR thing coming out saying that guy is a liar. And it was a little nasty. But then this completely turned wrong because then the guy gained traction. The New York Times got behind it, supported the guy. In the end, Kryptonite had a massive recall and a massive image damage just because one of those video bloggers showed it. And it's great because brands and companies cannot just walk around the world anymore making people believe that their product is great, their service is great, their attitude is fantastic. They have to prove it, which is cool because you can be told on. So one of the big messages I want to give you guys today is the idea to behave.